Welcome to the mobile first century. Here at the Creative Shop, we asked ourselves, is branded content ready for the mobile era? To answer that, we created a soap opera. Wait, what? Yeah, a soap opera, but not the kind you expect. Here's the thing, Brazilians are obsessed with soap operas. They're part of the national pop culture, generating memes, trending topics, and national debates every single day. So we got together to rethink what a soap opera of today would be like, taking into consideration how everyone interacts with friends today, through their phones. To make it all possible, we partnered up with one of the most innovative brands in Brazil, Skol, who wanted to build a deeper connection with the internet culture. And we called it the social opera, the reinvention of branded content. First, we picked one of the most influential communities on Facebook, LDRV, a group with more than 430,000 members that is the cradle of most Brazilian memes. Then, we thought about content, so we partnered up with the community leaders to build together a story with just the right tone. And from there, Tour das Tours was born, the adventures of 3 Brazilian youths trying their best to go viral. Every episode included an Easter egg.
Namastê.
Não. Will quê?
And cameos from their community heroes.
Gente, tudo bom, Francis? Me conta como é que foi isso tudo.
Oi, gente, tudo bem? Eu sou a Fran.
We spoke to them in their codes, from the real stories that inspired the plot
Isso da China?
Não, a minha avó deixou pra mim, você acredita?
to the famous slang terms.
Posso aqui? Eu reservei pra uma obra de arte bafônica.
And to make it all work on mobile, we developed an immersive branded content system that contemplates every content consumption occasion. The first one, linear, 11 episodes that were aired twice a week on Facebook and Instagram. The second, non-linear ecosystem, lots of short format content made by the characters themselves that were intricately related to the plot. Stories, boomerangs, Photoshop memes, and even an instant experience, all of which also served as media to drive viewership of the episodes. The third, on demand. Access the content whenever you want through a bot that was filled with secrets. Care to input a code seen in an episode? Boom, you earn a discount coupon for your Skol. And last but not least, advertising. The brand campaign itself also transformed into content that built hype. The results? In 1 month of airing, we reached 63 million people, leading up to an incredible number of 15,000 mentions, 462,000 interactions, and 25 million views, expanding brand health and favorability. People not only loved it, they went absolutely crazy. We organized live watch parties on Facebook and invited them to an exclusive event that took the conversation to a whole other level. We even made an entire collection of cans with their famous jargons that sold out in minutes. For all of this to happen, we partnered with 9 stakeholders that built everything together as a single group, but it was definitely worth the effort. Skol made a real connection with people by creating next generation content that does not interrupt their routines, but lives with them. Proving that when you create with the community, for the community, people beyond the community will engage and celebrate it as a broad cultural experience. This is the first of many more to come. Where will we break boundaries next?
Hello, and welcome to the Brand Storytelling live streams for August 12th, 2020. I'm Drew Parkhill. Thanks for being with us. These streams air every Wednesday, and our mission is to deliver the most timely and relevant information for our community of brands and their storytelling partners. These shows are designed for you, so please let us know how we can best serve the community by suggesting future topics and guests that would help you now as well as into the future. You can drop me a line. I'm Drew at BrandStorytelling.tv. Happy to introduce our host for this stream. Marcus Petersell is the CEO of Passion Point Collective, a leading entertainment marketing agency, a true industry leader in pop culture marketing. He's successfully built and led award-winning agency teams, both independently and within Omnicom. There's a lot I could say about Marcus, but I think I'll let him speak for himself. Marcus, take it away.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We really have an amazing panel because it's all about an amazing program. Brand storytelling is all about innovation, and so that's why we're excited today to bring you really an innovative program, an engaging program that is going to be winning awards for some time now. So we've got a great panel with the team that put this together. We have our client has just joined us, Ricardo, so we're excited to have him from Anheuser-Busch, and then the amazing Facebook team with Diego and Teo, who are coming to us from thousands of miles below New York City, where I am, and we're all excited to have you. So why don't we start with some introductions on what each of you do, your day-to-day roles. We can start with Diego on your day-to-day role at Facebook.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon here in Brazil. I'm based in São Paulo. I'm Diego. I'm creative industry lead on Creative Shop at Facebook. And the idea of my day-by-day life, Marcus, is to find and explore new territories of creativity to impact the industry as a whole. So I've been part of the TELS team, and right now I'm another part of the Creative Shop, working partnering with the Latin team right now.
Great, Teo.
Hi everyone. Good to be here. I am the director of the Creative Shop Latam at Facebook. It's our creative team. We explore and experiment with new possibilities on the platform using creativity as our main superpower. We partner with various clients and agencies to explore new things, and this is a bit of what we've done in this this project that we're going to talk about. So very nice to be here.
Fantastic. I thought I saw Ricardo, but now I don't. So
yeah, he was in. Something happened.
Okay, that's technology, the internet. So let's start out. We're going to talk about this great program, and we can give a summary of it. But the big idea here, this idea that was conceived by you and your team that delivered such great results, I know industry people always want to know about how the ideas came about. They see the program, they see the results. And my question is, was this someone on your team woke up at 3 a.m. with a pad by the side of their bed and said, I got it? Did this come out of a 3-day brainstorm? Was this an idea that morphed and changed 5 times? Give us a little genesis of how it all began.
Yeah, I think this was a sort of like a, maybe it started with someone waking up at 3 a.m. At some point, but it was a long sort of like process inside Facebook before we even got out. But we were doing a lot of branded content projects, very different type of projects, and we were exploring this area in many ways, and we were getting some interesting learnings from it, and we wanted to explore something new and different. And we were looking at the Brazil landscape, and we saw that a lot of the conversation peaks were about like soap opera themes, because this is a big thing in Brazil, and it was motivating a lot of conversations. And we thought, wouldn't it be interesting to create a sort of like a soap opera, but that could only live in our platform, and it was for like just mobile first experiment. So we started to think about that and really like, what would that be like? And sort of like in the middle of this process, we thought about ABI because we knew that they were looking into similar things. And so we decided to show them like, look, we're looking into that before we take this to more people. We wanted just to check with you because it feels like you're looking into ways of not interrupting people and things like this, that it feels like we could be together in this journey. And that's how we end up there.
Great. Diego, did you want to add to that, or?
No, I think like the ideation process is something that is really interesting. And what I think that Tel and his team, it's always trying to push and bring a lot of people together to the process of ideation. And this is, I think, is the approach from Creative Shop, partnering with communities, with a bunch of partners. And I think this makes the process really beautiful, sometimes hard. We are not like here to sugarcoat anything, but I think that this is a process when in the end, when you see the output with everybody collaborating for idea, this is amazing.
Well, you brought up a great point there. So how does Creative Shop work? Now that you kind of mentioned the process there, is it typically you've already created these great platforms that you then bring to brands, or do brands come to you and say, let's just build something from scratch? How does it usually work?
It can be both ways, but in this case, we were like looking into this data and insights, and we saw this opportunity. So what we usually do when the case is like we have something in our minds or something that we want to explore, we sort of like build like the minimum viable product there, just to share with a partner and see, look, are you interested in exploring in this area with us? And then when we got the client buy-in, we started to put together really like what kind of team we would need to go in that direction. So we were like, oh, we need to get the creative agency involved. We need the media agency involved. We need like a social specialist team. We need an inside team. So we started putting together like a production partner, like, and then we end up with the setup of, if I'm not wrong, 11 players that we needed to really put this together. And this is how it started. We said like, look, are we into like we need everyone's buy-in. We really design a really clear scope for each one. Like, look, we were gonna do this, you're gonna be able to do that. Of course, there was a blurred line in everything, but we kind of put together how we would collaborate, and that was part of the process. And most of all, we designed what we wanted to learn from this experience, from this journey, because that was not a certain, we didn't know exactly where we were going to end. So then we sat together with ABI and said like, what are the relevant topics for us to work on? What is that you're interested in? So they said like, we want some cutting edge topics, something that nobody's talking already. And we found this group in Facebook that was really, really relevant culture-wise, and a lot of memes, a lot of expressions, a lot of things from the Brazilian internet were coming in, were being born inside of this group. And they had a very specific way of telling stories and interacting with one another. So we knew them. We talked to them and said like, look, are you interested in jumping in a project? We think that you could be like co-creators in this. And we shared this idea with ABI. They got super excited. They actually were talking in other fronts with this group. and that's how we started the plot, and started to like, okay, we had a starting point to where the story was going to come from.
And you brought up, that's a great segue. You brought up the 11 partners, which scared me when I heard that. And I've sat on enough interagency teams where everyone wants to assert themselves and make sure their voice is in the project, yet not step over the line. And it's never easy. So what was kind of the communication process with 11 partners? At the end of the day, was there one boss who put down the gavel, or did you somehow magically all play nice in the sandbox?
Well, like I said, we said like we set up very clear sort of like rules of engagement. So like the creative agency, they are the ones that are gonna set the tone of the communication. They're gonna work on the visuals, the taglines, everything. This is the communication part of the project. It's gonna be with them. The media strategy will like tell us like what channels are we gonna work with, how we're gonna plan the media part. So each one had was the boss in one specific area, and all the other ones would contribute, but each one had a really clear sort of like scope and also like leadership inside of the process. We as Creative Shop, we brought sort of like the hypotheses, the learnings, the things that we were seeing on the platform, and things that we knew from previous work, that it was something that we knew that we would work. And the thing that we brought to the table as Creative Shop was like really this interesting and sort of like kind of complicated system on how we would build this on top, which was like this idea that for building a content, sort of like long form content in mobile first environment, we needed these 4 sort of like layers of understanding of the project. What was the regular storytelling, let's say the linear storytelling of the soap opera. So like you have the beginning, end, chapters, everything that a regular show would have. And then we would have the non-linear, because we know that in a mobile environment, like people just glance at things. They have a different way of consuming content. So we needed like a non-linear approach to the project. Then there was the on-demand part, which like we had like a lot of messaging ways of helping people to see it the way they want, to interact with people. And then there was also like the part, which was a very important part, which was like the brand part. So all the communication part, the advertising campaign of the project, and how this was sort of like mixing with the content of the project. So this was the sort of like the 4 layers of the systems that this framework that we brought to the project, and everyone started iterating on top of this.
Got it. Let's pause for a second, because I know, Brand Storytelling made the wrap-up video, which is great, available. But for anyone who's joined who maybe didn't see the video, could one of you just give the audience the 2-minute elevator pitch on what the program is, just in case someone's watching going, what do they do with the soap opera? I'm not sure who's the better elevator man here.
I think Tao is the best elevator man. I think I'm almost sure about that. I can do compliments and compliment him. But
okay, so the soap opera was very simple plot. What's about 5 young kids or young people trying to make a hit on the internet. So like this was like the plot, because this group is about that. They're telling stories to each other, creating memes, and building on top of each other's stories and really creating new expressions and memes and things. And among themselves, there is like a competition of like who gets the best content, who builds on top of each other's content and sort of like goes out and gets famous. Not the person itself only, but the stories get famous out there. So this was the plot of the soap opera, and it was really based on the same way the group builds the stories, that one starts a story, there's a thing about like, is this story true or not? But then there's some investigators that try to figure out if the story is true. Someone says like, it doesn't matter, I know, how would this should continue? And that's how they iterated inside a group. And sort of like this was the plot of the story. And yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and I think there is one thing that is interesting. Just to add on that, Tel, that's these young adults, we try to represent them as the millennials plus Generation Z behaviors in terms of how they approach the internet, how they interact, how they use and try to become famous. We called some influencers to be inside some episodes as well. And this story totally based in a story from a Facebook group, that it was this one that Tel just mentioned. It was interesting because it's a different language. And this, I think it was really interesting to bring for the process, because when we saw like a group of like us, that we are like 30 plus years old, talking to people around 20, 21, 22 years old, we realized that, oh, we need to bring closer to us, like people from the community, from the Facebook group, to understand the nuances between their behaviors and the languages. And this is the richness of the internet.
Great. So an important part of this, obviously, is the brand. So Skol Beer was integrated into this program. I saw a few pieces. I saw some content where there was a cocktail party or some kind of party, and people were drinking the beer. We saw there was a direct-to-retail component with a discount coupon. Can one of you kind of give us a brief on how Skol came to life within this 360 platform?
Yeah, so I think Skol, just to give a context, is the biggest beer brand in Brazil, and they always have been a very trendy brand. Like they always been on top of conversations. They were the first ones to get in social media. They always been very vocal, embracing diversity. So like they've always been sort of like in the edge of the communication. And so people had a lot of empathy for this brand. I don't think that for this experience, maybe any brand would work, but because for instance, the community was really like, we had to sort of like talk to the community leaders and really understand how the brand was okay to get in, what was the tone, but they were really okay with the brand, especially because it's a brand that was already part of their environment. They would already make jokes and memes with the brand. So it was a very welcoming sort of like part of the project. The way we try to build like the plot, the story, everything was related to Skol's positioning. So like they were sort of like working the same themes in their advertising campaigns on, for instance, diversity, exploring and enjoying life, a lot of things that were common to the plot of the soap opera. But also we wanted to create a 360 experience, especially for the group where this all started. So the first thing we did was like a real party to launch the soap opera with everyone. And so like people were so amazed with that, because the story was about them. So many stories that only them knew that it came from the group. They were really relevant to the outside audience, but they have a lot of inside jokes that they only them knew. And Skull was bringing this to them, producing a story about them, how the group came together, how the stories of the group became big memes on the internet. So they were really, really open and welcoming the brand in that sense. And also, like, for instance, Skull created like a set of cans that had the expressions that they use inside the group. And so like these expressions were already out there in the world. So people would say those things, but many people didn't know it came from this group. So all of these things really brought the group, the Facebook group, this community really on board of the project. And they were really part of spreading this out because they were proud of how Skull treated them in the plot, in the story. And they were really like a big part of how we advertise this to the broader audience.
Yeah, and I think adding to that, Tal, I think this, Marcus, this project, it was so innovative and that matched so well with the brand goals because it's a really bold brand here in Brazil. Just so you know, they are pushing innovation. They want to be they want to be in the inside the cultural subjects, and they want to. It's a really bold. This is the point. It's a really bold brand, and I think this. When we started thinking about how can the brand mix with this kind of project and bring all the ingredients together in terms of generating more conversation, bringing the brand in a natural and in a really relevant way for the community, it was the big match that we could have with the brand.
Wow. Great. So some tactical questions. What did the timeline look like from your first meeting with AB where you presented the idea till the day it launched? What did that look like?
It was 11 months. So a month almost for each partner. Yeah, it was a big, we intended to launch in 6 months or a bit less than that. But we had some changes in the middle of the project. The project got bigger in the middle. We decided to do more things, involve more people. So this is also why the project took longer. But you have to imagine that, for instance, one of the production partners that we had was Endemol Shine, which produced the whole soap opera. And when we started talking to the client, we didn't have the plot, we didn't have the script, we didn't have production, we didn't have anything. We really put them since the day one, and the agency since the day one involved in this. So when they briefed us on the theme, we had to do a research, and we partnered up with another team to do a research on groups and trends and things. So then we presented to them, then we came back, and then we decided, okay, then we did a pitch for who was going to be the director, because when we decided the plot, the theme, we needed like a director that could really bring that to life. So Endemol brought a bunch of screenwriters and directors that could sort of like, that brought their vision to how this could be made. And then we had to train them in mobile first production, because we had just launched a new training in the creative shop. We did the research all over the world on mobile first production and vertical production for mobile. And we had to train Endemol to do that. So all of these things really, so like when you think about 11 months, this is not even that much, because there was a lot to do. And then when we launched the soap opera, we were on air, I think, for a little bit more than almost 2 months, if I'm not wrong. Is that right?
The campaign on air, Tal?
Yeah.
It was 40 days. 40 days.
40 days, yeah,
Yeah.
a month and a half, kind of. So, so that's the length of the project. But there was a lot of preparation, and we had to onboard a lot of people, and everyone, again, and everyone had their contribution, because it was not like we were doing something that we had the blueprint on how to do it. So we needed a lot of information, and also a lot of inputs from everyone. Like, so that's why it took a long way to get there.
Got it. And one of the features that I really liked was, when we build programs in today's world, in the virtual world, in the screen world, we're always putting in little Easter eggs, little technology punt, just all kinds of little tricks into it to engage the audience. And then many times when the program's over, like, wow, audience didn't really use a lot of the functionality that we built in, but you created some, and half the time I can't even find it. If it's someone else's, I'm like, where's that video? You created a bot that was kind of taking people through the process to make sure they tell us a little bit about that.
That's a good topic, because this is something we learned a lot about, because the way we thought about it was like, okay, people might want to check this and see it afterwards, or like, I missed the episode, but what we realized is that people engage way more with the non-linear content. So they were not so interested in watching things in a certain order. The core community was, but they were already watching it as the chapters would come out, because they were really involved. And the broader audience, they were really much more involved in the non-linear content, and some specific episodes where it talked about something that they connected more. And so they were following the story in a very different way. So when we look at all the data, we saw that there was not a really relevant use of the on-demand part. And I think that also was because the way we launched the chapters, that was something that we also learned. We kind of like, we launched a new episodes every, if I'm not wrong, every 5 days. Mm-hmm. And we saw that, okay, for that to be something that people would need to search for, we would need to hold and give more space between the chapters. So that will give time for people to, oh, okay, I need to go back and see, because there's a new one. But we saw that this wasn't so much the case. So that was this learning that we needed either to not need that, or space out the chapters launch to create that demand.
And adding on that, Theo and Marcos, I think one thing from taking risks in an innovative process, or in an innovative project, it's understanding that we don't have recipes, and we will need to hone the stuff sometime when during the process. So we were like understanding, and of course, understanding the data, the number of views, like the view span, like on the videos, to understand what is happening. When we realized that the non-linear assets were going so well, we understood like, oh, this is good. Like, so let's put more assets, small assets, like small videos, to bring people to watch the episodes. So we realized it, and that it was like a beta process, I think, even during the campaign on air, because we were like honing the project like during the campaign.
Yeah, I think it was a very interactive process. So we had like a big meeting for our meeting every week with all the teams, but we had like numerous like WhatsApp groups and chats with like real-time updates. So as soon as something was working better than other things, we would invest more in that direction. And this was the case with the nonlinear part of the story. We started investing much more on that part because we saw that people were interested in that and they were getting what they needed from the story with this more nonlinear way of telling the story.
So we have a question from the audience, and I'll add a piece onto it, which is the Facebook group that you first tapped into, which was fantastic because you had an existing audience. Did that group grow over the course of the campaign? And how did consumers overall like and engage with this content? What was the consumer reaction?
The reactions in the group they were crazy. Like people were really like, if you see the testimonials, I remember going through a lot of nights just reading the comments because it was surreal. Because again, we were using a lot of, we contacted more than 30 people in the group directly because we wanted to use part of stories that they wrote inside the group. So they were seeing sort of like a live show of things that they just wrote inside the group. So they were like really excited and emotional about. So in the group, the impact was really, really good. And there was a lot of engagement inside the group. There were a lot of, like I said, emotions, people writing testimonials about like, oh, this part of the story, they never imagined that I would see like a live motion of this story that was only in my mind, and things like this. And the group was really big already. They had more than 400,000 people. So it was like a really large group.
Right.
And at a certain point, where they were, they did not have a sort of like a desire to grow way more. So this was not a thing for the group, but much more than that was like increase the conversations outside the group about the group. This was sort of like what the group kind of wanted, and that happened. That happened in a level that they could not even imagine. I mean, when you think about a group like this and the type of audience that a brand like Skull was used to reach, for them was like they were inside of a group of 400,000 people, but the audience of the soap opera was like 11 million people. So like, can you imagine like how they were like just overwhelmed with the size of the reach of many of their stories that were only happening inside the group.
Yeah, and there is one thing that we use and that it was the celebrating the group, right, Tel? I think the history and the script was to celebrate their histories. And one thing that we realized at Marcus, it's on a broader target, even that it was not inside the group. So just so you know, we reached around 6-7 million people, all the campaign reached. So, and the group is like 400,000. So imagine, as we have the beer and the beer approach and the campaign, the specific plot approach. And we saw that the broader group was really engaged with the history as well. In terms of brand health, it was really interesting for this broader group. That is for Skull specifically was important as well.
Wow. Well, there's no way to ever host a discussion on marketing and having a panel without mentioning the word KPIs. Just something we always have to do. So I'm assuming at the beginning of the program, you did set some metrics, some internal goals, what kind of engagement, what kind of numbers you wanted to hit as part of the program. Generally speaking, did you hit those numbers? Did you exceed the numbers? Did some of them fall a little short and others, went a little far? How did the KPIs come out at the end of the day?
I think you can take this one.
Yeah. Marcus, first of all, like the main goal for the brand, it was increase the cultural relevance. As I told you guys, the brand wants to be into the conversations. So this it was the main goal for us, that we tried to measure it with the brand lift that we have in our platforms for all the advertisers, so we can run this. It's like with some questions before and after the campaign. And in other like secondary goals as well, as like video views, reach. So video views, we had like more than 25 million video views in Facebook and IGTV platform. And just so you know, IGTV, like in Brazil, it's organic yet. So this is one thing that is important, just so you know, as how we build a really nice and interesting history to make people watch even in IGTV in Brazil. And is that like in terms of reach, as I told you, 6-7 million people. So was reached by the campaign, of course, by all the assets that we use it in terms of paid media. And it was interesting. And I think that one thing that Tel brought for the conversation in the beginning, that it was the learning. Since the beginning, Marcus, all the responsibles for the project were like with what learning agenda. So let's learn with the process. Let's, of course, reach the goals, because even like the brand wants, Facebook wants as well, and make everyone happy. But like we had like this mindset to take risks and learn with the process. And this, it was interesting, even like as Tel was saying, about 11 months of like project. So now we understand that we can make it like faster. So we improved it a lot. And we had like in our table a lot of information to discuss and to make like, and to improve and to go for the next step in terms of branded storytelling.
Right.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna add this. I think we were able to test things like we use influencers in a couple of chapters, not in all the chapter. How does that made an impact on the video views? Like, does the audience comes more from the influencer or the brand audience? Like how those things played out? How far on the long video form, how far would people watch it until they were satisfied, or would they watch it till the end? What a percentage of people watched it until the end, and what percentage did not? So all of these things were things that we were like measuring and sharing with the client and sharing with everyone in the project. And I think, like Diego said, I think if we were to do a new one, we would start from a much better place than when we started this one, with a lot of learnings. And this was our commitment to the group. Like, we're going to share everything that we have as far as information, so everyone can use in their next project.
Yeah, so the we looked at, again, if everyone took a look at the sizzle reel, of course it looks fantastic, but over 11 months, we know anything can happen. So last question, over the course of the project, some combination, not did anything go wrong, but did anything surprise you that you didn't expect?
Yeah, many things. And I think many things did get wrong. I mean, it's very frustrating, like, to be super honest, to be in a lot of the meetings that we were with 11 stakeholders trying to get to a consensus. Like, we would get out of these meetings frustrated. There were like budget cuts, there were like things that didn't work. And for instance, like the long form videos, we at a certain point we understood that there was a audience that was leaning into that, but it was very hard to reach a different audience. At a certain point, so there were some people that were just really into it, following, understanding everything, watching every second of the video. But a lot of audience, they were not into that. They were like really engaged, but in a different way. They liked the short videos, and they were interacting with them. They were following, but we were not able to move some of these audience to get into the longer form videos. So there were a lot of things that we were understanding. Like I said, the on demand was sort of like something that didn't went well. And another thing that I think is important to say that we learned is that because when we produce branded content, we are always conscious of like how much brand can you add to the content, right? Because that's a discussion that we all have, like, oh, it's going to be too branded, and then people are going to drive away people or not. But the interesting learning, and I think that is regarded to this audience, this generation, they had no problem with the brand. You could add, as we learned that we could add way more brand than we actually did, because the message was so in tune with them, and the brand was bringing something valuable to them. They had no problem with the brand. So when you see the brand awareness metrics, they were good, but they were not fantastic. And we realized that we could have pushed that way further than we did, because we were maybe a bit conservative in our way of thinking. It's like, no, you cannot put too much brand because people were not going to like. And we got the opposite feedback. It's like, yeah, if you're saying the right thing, just put the brand. We don't care, you know. And this was a really interesting learning that we're going to use for our next project.
That's great. Well, I'll tell you that I think, you know, people who are not in the business, they think the three of us have great jobs. We have great fun jobs every day. But the reality is, because I know it, every day we have to wake up and deliver genius. Every day we have to wake up and deliver brilliance and innovation. And that's not easy. So given we're all in that same boat, I salute the both of you and the entire Facebook team and the AB team. This was innovation. This was brilliance. This did deliver the results. And we can't wait to see the next one.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and I want to like have us do a special thank for the client, because it's very, very hard to get a client that is willing to explore in such a deep way and with such a commitment. I think that this was that's why we were able to have like 11 partners committed, because the client was like, we are committed, we want to learn. And I remember Ricardo telling me, like, we are in this together. Like the results are important. We're going to do everything we can to get them, but what we learn, it's going to be our main KPI. So I think this type of commitment is something that we don't see all the time. So and I think that all other brands should thank those clients, because they are advancing us all as an industry, and I think that it's very important to thank them and salute them to the places where they went with us.
Well, amen to that. And I hope in this crazy world we're living in, somehow we can all be in the same place, with or without mask, having a drink to toast the success of this program. So thank you both for joining, and thank you from the Brand Storytelling team. This was fantastic. And we'll see everyone, I guess, next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Marcus.
Marcus.
Thank you, Diego and Teo. Appreciate you taking the time to walk us through this program. If you're just joining us, or if you missed any portion of this stream, we'll be publishing it on our YouTube channel tomorrow morning. So check that out, BrandStorytelling.tv. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian.
Bye-bye.